Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Jackie. I'm the founder of Kreativ and an artist here in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Today I'm going to be taking you through step by step through a fabulous painting of a sunrise. In this painting there is reflection in the water with beautiful colors. We're going to focus on blending. We are going to be using all different kinds of brushes, and also we're going to have a beautiful silhouette of a tree branch, and I have a few little birds sitting on mine. So get your supplies out. We'll get started in just a moment, and thank you so much for joining tonight. So just a few minutes before we get started. It was so nice out today. I hope you got outside. Here's our painting. The colors that I'm using tonight, I am using acrylic paint. I'm using lots of white, pink, purple, yellow. I have a color called Ocean Breeze, but like a turquoise or a blue would work beautifully. I also have some black. Of course, you can really make this painting your own. You can add all kinds of things into this, different silhouettes. Maybe there's a deer in your foreground, or maybe two people standing by the water. That would be really beautiful too, just silhouettes. One thing that's kind of cool about adding a silhouette, you could just print out a silhouette. If you have a printer, you could print one out, cut it out, and then glue it on. Then you'd have like a multimedia piece, which is really cool. I love introducing different mediums when I am creating. But we'll just get started in just a moment, so get your supplies out. I'm going to be using acrylic paint, but if you have colored pencils, markers, crayons, whatever you have is perfect. I'm also using a canvas tonight, but paper would be absolutely fine. I painted on watercolor paper the other day, and I actually loved how the paint moved. So if you have some paper, grab it, and we'll just get started in just a moment. All right, so tonight we're going to really focus on blending. So we're gonna do lots and lots of blending, and we're really gonna play with that and get it down. Let's get down blending. We got this, all right? I'm just gonna show you my material and my setup, and of course you can use whatever you have. I'm just gonna take you down real quick and flip you around. Hold on. Hi Alicia, hi Carol. All right, so I totally ran out of paper plates, but I had a small canvas and I just flipped it upside down and then put tinfoil on it, and I actually really like this setup. So here's my palette. If I have a tabletop easel, it is right here in front of me. My paint is right there underneath, and I have some paper on my table just to protect it, and I also can use that to try things out. I have a paper towel to wipe my brush off. I also can use this as like an eraser, so this is very important. If you have a rag, that would be perfect as well. I have my cup of water. Today I'm using Craft Smart acrylic paint. This is a great beginner paint, and I have yellow, purple. I have a color called Ocean Breeze, white, and black. And I don't know if I forgot. Did I say pink? I don't think I did. Also tonight I have quite a few brushes, but whatever you have is perfect. I have a really big flat brush. This is my chip brush. And how I use this one, I hold it like a pen or a pencil, nice and low. I can get a nice thin line by using that edge, or of course use the whole width. I have a long brush or a flat brush, and this is pretty small. Bigger flat, my white grip. If you paint with me, you're very familiar with these. And I hold these nice and low as well. And when I wipe off the extra paint, and then I give it a wash, and then I wipe again. Wipe, wash, wipe. And our final brush, I have a nice detail brush. I hold it nice and low like a pen or a pencil, just using the tip of the bristles, barely letting them bend to get a really nice thin line. We will be working with tiny lines tonight, so make sure you really like your brushes. All brushes aren't created equally, so find one that you love. And I find that I have a favorite for each painting I do. It always changes. All right, we'll talk more about our brushes later. And I'm doing this kids one, I think tomorrow. It's gonna be so much fun. If you know any kiddos. And here I am, hi. All right, so I'm going to set you up. Get your supplies out. Again, if you have colored pencils or markers, whatever you have is perfect. And if you think someone would love to try this, or you know someone that loves painting, if you want to share, that would be wonderful. And I also, I'm telling you a lot tonight, please, I would love to see your space. So take a picture of you in your workspace if someone can take a picture of you, or just of your workspace, and send it to me or comment below. I would love to see your space, even if it's at just your kitchen table or sitting at your coffee table. Wherever you are, I want to see your space. All right, here we go. I'm so excited to paint tonight. So with my painting, I'm using a horizontal, so the long way this way. Of course, you can do it up and down if you'd like, but I decided to do it horizontal. Also, in my painting, I have more sky than water, so I'm going to do like 2/3 sky, 1/3 the ocean or lake, wherever you are. I kind of got whimsical with these colors. You could really push them and make them super bright, or make them very pale and soft, whatever you'd like, and we'll talk more about that later. But I just love how all these colors blend together. I think it's a beautiful painting. So, one more thing, we're going to talk about trees. I know it's scary, but don't be afraid, all right? Every tree is different, and I'm going to walk you through it, and we got this. So we're really going to focus on blending and also using our edge of our brush, all right? So let's get started, let's get creative. All right, I'm gonna bring you right over here. All right, and we're gonna start our background. We're gonna start our horizon line. So what I'm gonna do is find the spot where I want my horizon line to be. If I want my water to be higher or have more water than sky, you can absolutely do that. But in my painting, I am going to have more sky than water. So let me just grab my palette and my brush. I'm going to start with a small flat brush, and I'm going to use that edge. I call it my ice skate edge. Think about ice skating. You wouldn't be able to ice skate if you were using the whole side of your skate. You have to use that whole bottom edge, all right? So think about ice skating on your canvas. I'm going to find about 2/3 the way down. I think that looks pretty good right here. And I'm going to just make a little yellow dot. All right, now if I want the same height on the other side, I'm going to just measure with my brush, tip the bristles down, holding where that dot is, and I'm going to push it right over here, make my dot. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to stand our brush up. The back of the brush should be pointing at you. All right, really play with this edge. Try to get a nice thin line. I'm really going to push you to get your lines tonight. So I'm going to just drag or pull across. You can do it in steps or one swoop across. All right, decision. Let's see. Do you want the sides of your canvas painted? If so, just bring that line right on over. All right, so we have our horizon line down. This is going to be my water. This is my sky. Now I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to have my big brush is going to be just my white brush. And then I'm going to use my white grip brush, which is a little bit bigger than this. So I'm just going to throw this in my water. I'm going to grab my two other brushes. So I have a chip brush, which is going to be my white brush. And then I have this one here, which is going to be the brush I'm going to add my color to. All right, so I am going to start right at my horizon line, and I'm really going to think about the colors I have in my canvas, all right? So if you love yellow, you can bring that yellow up as high as you'd like. If you're like, I'm not like crazy about yellow, you could skip it, or you could just add a little bit to that. So play with the amount of color, the size of the stripe that you like. This is yours, right? All right. Hey, Joe, how are you? You got your paints out? I can't wait to paint with you in person. All right, here we go. So here we go. I'm going to take my big brush. I'm going to tap it on into my white paint. Tap it on in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going... thanks, Joe. Joe is a great painter. All right, so I am using the whole width of my brush. And I'm just starting at my horizon line, and I'm working it back and forth. Now we're going to work with a technique called wet on wet. So I'm working it back and forth. and you know, maybe 2 inches or so from my horizon line. That looks good to me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch brushes. I have this one here. It's just another flat, and I'm going to dip into my yellow. So I have my yellow paint, and I'm going to start right at that horizon line, working it. I'm just going back and forth. Play with the length of your brush stroke. If you have any bristles that are falling out, sometimes with new brushes that happens. So just use the corner and pick it right on out. But this is where I can say, all right, well, how much of this bright yellow do I want, right? So I'm starting, whenever I add pure color, I start at, yeah, Joe, Joe just commented and said that he loved my, my tray, my palette. I forgot, I ran out of paper plates, so got creative. All right, and it's easy cleanup, right? Perfect. Okay, so I'm bringing that up, and I always start with more color I add at the bottom. And I'm just gonna work it up, and I'm only in that wet white paint. And if you're like, well, I've already reached the top of that wet white paint, just take your big brush. This is our clean brush, and it's just white, right? No water. I'm gonna tap on into the white paint. And now what I'm gonna do, let's go right above. It even can blend a little bit into that top of that yellow. Pick out this little bristle. All right, now I'm not going to do anything else to my brush. I even can wipe off the extra. So I'm just wiping off the extra. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna continue up, barely just letting it, it's like the lightest yellow ever. This is our transition. So I went from a strong yellow and it got lighter and lighter. And if you're like, well, mine's pretty much the same throughout, grab some white and start at the very top of your yellow and go down. Dip into your white, stop, start at the top of the yellow, go down. And then you can kind of play with adding more, bringing it up, or adding more white and bringing it down. All right. So our goal here is to get super, super light. And then we're going to have our transition into our pink. I'm going to bring this one a little bit closer to you because in the camera it looks very, very pale, and I think in person it's a little bit more intense. Let's see. I know the light's kind of funny, but so I have my yellow, it got very pale, and this is where I'm going to start that transition into a very light pink, and it gets darker as it goes up into my purple. All right. Of course, you can make it yours. If you love purple, bring that purple down. All right. So I'm just going to wipe off my brush. I just had that yellow and white on there, so I'm just going to wipe off that, a little bit of that yellow, and I'm going to start with adding some pink. Now I want to go ahead and work while this paint is wet because I want to have that nice blend. All right. So I can have white on my brush, and I'm going to have a little bit of pink. Now let's start at the very top. I'm on the dry canvas right now. On the dry canvas, working my way down. Now really, really concentrate or just focus on that blend. In my painting, my goal was to have a nice blend, so I didn't have one color, another color, right? It was just a seamless blend from one to the other. So to do that, we need to allow the colors to mix into each other. So I'm putting my color above, and then I'm working it down. Now play with the amount of pressure. Lighten up on it when you're dusting it down into the color below. All right, another little tip. I kind of talked about it for a second when we were looking at our materials, but if you're like, well, I didn't mean to have that color there, just take a piece of paper towel and just wipe it out. Then let it dry, and then you can paint over it. You can wipe it out, add a tiny bit of water, make sure you squeeze it out, and then you can kind of rub on your canvas. Your canvas is pretty tough, so you can really work it. And if you need to scrub, ooh, I wasn't even showing you what I was doing. I'm sorry. So here we go. So starting above, working my way down, above, working my way down. Now I'm going to continue adding this white and pink, and I can start adding more and more pink, but my goal here is to have a really nice transition or blend. I do invite you to have multiple lights and darks in there, so to give some interest, maybe creating a little bit of a little cloud, a wispy cloud look. But I'm starting above, going across. If I have a ton of paint on there, I'll wipe it off, and then I'm going to work from the bottom down into the color or row of paint below. If you're painting the sides of your canvas, continue just wrapping that right around. I'm adding more pure. I'm at that point where I'm like, I think it's time to add just pure. So I'm adding pure pink. But we're going to do the same thing with that blend because I don't want to have a stripe. So I have my stripe, wiping off my brush, getting all the extra paint off. Now I'm going to grab the bottom edge of that pink, pure pink, and I'm rubbing it into the pink-white combo. Back and forth, and I'm working this in small sections. If I'm finding that I have a lot of paint on there and it's not really doing it, just wipe your brush off and then continue on. And I'm going to continue right across. After we finish, I am going to grab another canvas and I'm just going to show you one more time about blending, just in case you're like, I'm not quite sure what's going on. But let's continue on. So now I have pink on my brush and I'm going to add some purple. So I have two colors on my brush. Start at the top. This is where we're changing. This is that transition here. So I got a pink-purple combination, stripe across. Now let's grab the bottom of that purple pink combo and bring it down, letting it just kind of blend out. I think I need to add a little bit more. You can add some white into that if you like. The white really helps kind of blend things together. So, always try, if you're like, I don't know about that. Sometimes the pigment is a little translucent, right? So adding a little bit of white helps. I'm going to continue up. More purple, a little pink, same thing. If you're painting the sides of your canvas, bring that right over. Also, before you pour your paint, make sure you give it a quick little shake. Starting at the top of my canvas, I'm going to add a little bit of white to my purple. Just kind of soften it. I'm starting at the very top now, going all the way across, and I'm going to blend that down. And if you're like, well, I brought it down I brought it down too far into the part where it was dry. So if that's like maybe here for me, the pink is pretty dry there, I'm just going to give my brush a quick white wash. And then I am going to, I almost just put that right in my drink. It happens. But I have a little bit too much of a line here. Do you see that? So I want to soften that, and I'm going to put some pink on there because that's what the color is underneath. And I'm going to start right there, and now I'm going to blend up. Maybe it was in, maybe where yours is, maybe you're in the pink-white combo. Just think of what was that color combo. Add that where that seam was, and then blend up, then blend down. All right, I think I'm going to make this a little bit more intense, just a little bit more, almost there. And I still see this line here. So I'm just going to work it a little bit more. I'm going to add some pink, maybe a little bit of white. One trick is to take a picture with your phone some reason your phone will tell you things that your eyes are missing. If you're seeing like stripes in your paint, maybe you're not using enough paint. So I would just suggest using a little bit more, and you don't want drips, but just try adding a little bit more. Just gonna add a little bit more of purple right up here. And if your paint, the paint below is starting to dry and you're getting stripes, remember you always can add the color right underneath and then blend up. So I'm blending down right now because that paint is still a little wet down there. And then try using very, very light pressure, just letting the tips of the bristles touch the canvas. I think that is great. Perfect. All right. So I am going to, here we go. I'm going to now focus on my water. Got a little pink in there. Let's do a little scratch. All right. So I'm going to give my brushes a quick wash wipe. I'm keeping my big brush, keeping that with just its paint on it. I don't have to give it a wash and keeping that dry. Just giving my other brush a quick little wash. And now I'm going to focus on my water. So I'm definitely going to be using my big brush, and I'm going to be using my white grip brush again. And in my painting or in my water, I have a purple-white combo. I also could have some pink in there. And then I have a nice transition into my Ocean Breeze. If you don't have Ocean Breeze, maybe a turquoise would be beautiful, or a dark blue would be very nice with this color combo. I also went in and added some, it's like a gentle ripple in the water, not really waves, just kind of these swells coming in, and I just had some height that I created with my paint that we'll work on. So I'm going to go on over to this canvas over here, and I'm going to take my big brush, and I'm going to start right at my horizon line. I'm going to be using my big brush, tapping on into that white paint, and I'm going to start right at that horizon line. Taking it slow, because when I look out into that ocean, I notice that that line where the water meets the sky is very, very flat. So I could always pick up a different brush if I wanted to have a little bit more control. I'm just taking my time. And I'm going to go about halfway down my water with this white. All right, here we go. So I have my white all set, my horizon line is flat, and now I'm going to go ahead and start introducing some color. I'm going to keep this brush stroke nice and flat. Of course, you could try, giving a little flip-flop, however you'd like. And I'm going to dip into my purple to start, and I think we might play with a little bit of pink as well. So I'm going to really just allow that paint to marble and mix into that wet white paint. You can go right off the edge. I'm using the whole width of my brush, slowing it down, and I'm using very light pressure. And just by doing these brush strokes, I'm already creating some, I don't know if you can see, let me just turn this light. I'm starting to already create some waves and ripples in my water. So I'm going to go back in, maybe adding a little bit of pink. I'm going to start back here. And this isn't my, how we did in our sky. We have like sections of yellow, our pink and our purple. This one here, in this section right here, I'm just kind of letting these kind of mix together throughout and not really having a row or a stripe. I like how I have on this one here, I like how I have a little bit more of a darker line right here, kind of sets everything back. So there's a little bit more of a darker purple and like the upper half of that section we're just working on. So I'm just going to take my purple, and I'm just going to focus a little bit. And now if you find that your paint is blending too much, lighten up on it. Barely touch, back and forth. Barely let your bristles touch, sweeping across. It allows there to be darker sections and lighter sections, which give a lot of interest. All right, very cool. All right, so I am going to grab my white grip or my white brush again, tap on in, and right underneath or right in the bottom of that purple section, I'm just going to awaken that edge. I can add a little bit down there. I don't have to fill in that whole bottom section, but I just kind of awakened that bottom edge where the purple ended, and I just did a few brush strokes in that area, the bottom part of my canvas, because we are going to start introducing our beautiful ocean breeze or turquoise or blue, whatever color you have. So I'm just going to give this purple one a quick little wash. So white wash white. All right, so I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to work my way up. So I'm going to get my dark, put it across, and then I'm going to bring it up. All right. This is a great painting on blending. So I have my ocean breeze. I'm working it across the bottom. And now I'm just going to grab from the top of the ocean breeze and work my way up. All right. You can give your brush a wipe off if you have a lot of paint on there. So I'm not going to add any more until I'm all the way across. So I grab from here. I'm working it up lightly, barely touching your canvas. If you are sitting, try standing. I'm just going up and allowing it to just blend on out into the color above. Try very light pressure. It creates a nice blend, and it also allows your paint not to turn into one flat color. It allows interest in different tones. So I really love these little waves that this artist has created. All right, cool. You think anyone would like to learn how to paint? If you wouldn't mind just sharing or sending a message, and you can share it in a message to a friend to spread the word about getting creative. That'd be amazing. And I hope you're having a good day. It was so nice. I think it was tomorrow is gonna snow. That's pretty crazy. But anyway, all right. So I'm super happy with my blend. I'm gonna let this dry for a minute or two, and I'm gonna show you on a different canvas a quick blend, just to show you again, just so you really get the blend. I want you to leave from this painting and know exactly, yes, I can blend, and be confident about it. So you can continue if you're like, well, that was too light. Before I show you that blend, you can always add more ocean breeze down at the bottom and work your way up. Always start at the bottom, working your way up. You always can add some more white here and there to help blend. All right, so let me get something to show you an example of blending. All right. So I have just this canvas here. We'll pretend it's blank. And I'm just going to show you a blend. So I'm going to start with, we'll go pink. And I want to blend it with purple. All right. So I have my stripe, and we'll continue in just a moment, but we're letting our canvas dry, and I just wanted to show you if you're just unsure. So I have my pink, right? And now I want to transition into my purple. I'm going to take my brush, and I'm just going to give it a quick wipe. Get all the extra paint off. I'm going to grab a little bit of white paint. And I'm going to start right above that pink. Sorry, I'm holding it, so it's a little shaky. So I have that white, right? And now I'm going to bring that white down into my pink. So now I have a nice seamless transition there. Now I'm going to go ahead and dip into my purple. I'm going to start above that wet line. I'm going to bring it up a bit, just to get the extra paint off. All right, now can you see that stripe, right? This is that line I'm always talking about. All right, I'm going to wipe my brush off again. Now let's blend it away. So barely letting your bristles touch. Just working it across. You can always wipe off your brush. I'm just continuing very, very lightly. Blending away that line. And now you barely can see where those two meet, right? So our transition is seamless. And you can continue working that. That is just one more quick little blend. All right, so I think that should be pretty dry. I'm happy with the way that looks so far. I'm going to start working on my branch. Now, every tree is different. Every branch is different. So just kind of relax about the mind's eye, right? Because we all have in our mind a picture of the perfect branch, right? Let's get rid of it. Now, we're going to start with a main part of the branch. We're going to play with the amount of pressure as well. As I draw with the edge of my brush, I'm going to start lifting off my canvas, which is going to create even a thinner line. All right. All right. Here we go. So I'm going to start with my long brush, and I have black paint. You could do a dark gray. You could do a brown, whatever you like, but mine's like a silhouette, so I decided to do black. Let me just pull you back just so you can see a little bit more of both. I can always bring you closer. All right, so remember, get rid of the idea of that perfect branch in your mind. All I want is somewhere for my little birds to sit, all right? Now, that edge of our brush, let me just show you one more time. This is the edge, right? The whole bottom. So when I am drawing with my edge, I don't use a corner. I use it completely flat, all right? The back of the brush be pointing right at you. All right, so I'm going to load my brush with some black. I'm going to wipe on both flat sides, compressing my bristles to get it as tight as I can. So now I'm going to picture it. Remember, every tree is different. So I am going to say, all right, up in this top pink area, I'm going to start my branch. I'm going to start it, and then I'm going to have an angle up maybe, and then maybe an angle down. Now, when you're painting, you do not have to do it all in one swoop. You can do it a little bit, lift up, step back, stand up. When you're painting, it definitely is different, and it helps. Some sitting so close to it, but standing, you can really kind of have that conversation with your canvas. So I'm going to start and bring it out, maybe on an angle. So I'm going to bring it out, and now I'm going to do that slight angle a little bit. All right, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to think about how far across do I want my my tree to go. And if I look over here, I decided to go a little bit past halfway. So here is halfway, and here is my end of my branch, right? So here's halfway, so I did go a little bit more past that, but you could stop it wherever you think or wherever your canvas is telling you to. All right, so I have my line started, and now I'm going to continue on until I find where I want to stop. So let's just use our finger first. All right, I think I'm gonna stop right about here. Tiny little dot. Goal is to keep this line nice and thin, using the edge of your brush. The back of the brush should be pointing right at you. All right, now I ask myself, is that the top or is that the bottom of my brush? Or my tree. So I'm gonna say that is the top. So now I'm gonna do a parallel line from this here, and I'm gonna start getting closer and closer to the line until it becomes one. So I'm gonna start by adding the main thickness. So this part here where it's connecting to the tree is gonna be the thickest part. As it goes, it's gonna get closer and closer until it becomes one. So I am going to start, and I say, all right, I think that looks good. It is about the thickness of my finger or a little bit smaller. And now I'm just gonna run parallel on my edge, getting closer and closer and closer until it just becomes that line, the main line. All right, now I'm gonna fill in the space here. All right, so that is the main part of this branch. Now I'm going to make some branches off of it. So we're gonna think of it as a highway, and now we're gonna take some exits off, all right? So I have my main highway, I'm gonna travel back on. Again, my brush is standing up on my canvas, and I'm going to create this branch here. So it's gonna come, here's my main highway, I'm gonna exit off, and then I'm going to kind of flatten out. All right, of course, it could be any way you want. One thing with yours, I would highly suggest drawing it out on a piece of paper before going up on your canvas. All right, so practice on some paper first. All right, so here we go. I'm going to travel right on this main tree, and now I'm going to turn my brush. I'm exiting off. I'm going to lift my brush up. And now I'm going to start flattening out. And I'm just going to kind of look at how far I want this branch to go. So I'm going to look over here at my picture here, and it's shorter than the main one. I always can extend, but I'm just kind of keeping in mind the bigger picture. Moving my camera. All right. So I am going to stop there, and I'm going to start another branch up top. So I have my main branch here. I'm going to add some more twigs off of it, but why don't we move on up over to this side here. So I have like a whole tree and all these branches that are kind of peeking in to my canvas. So it's not just one branch. I am going to start, maybe it could be at the corner or just a little bit further down. I'm going to move just a little bit further down just so I'm not coming out of that corner. Wiping on both flat sides of my brush, getting my bristles nice and compressed, and I'm going to introduce this branch here. I'm going to ride on the edge, stop, think about how long I want it to go. I'm going to have a little bit of an angle here, so I'm going to come down, and now I'm going to turn, something like that. And that is the main part of this branch. I'm going to have one more branch coming in from the top. You may have 5 more, or just keep those 2, whatever you'd like. But I'm going to have one coming in from right up here. Just a little guy. I'll add the branches on that later. All right, I have one more main branch that is down below my first one. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to go up on an angle, and I'm going to come down. I am also going to think about how long I want that branch to be. It is a little shorter than this guy here. So it's shorter than this one here. Of course, yours could be totally different. All right, wiping on both flat sides, compressing those bristles. I'm going to start right about here. This looks good in my very light pink area. I'm going to go across. I'm going to go up. I'm going to come down. That feels good. Ask myself, is it the top or the bottom? That is the top of this one. So I'm going to give it a little bit of thickness on the bottom, keeping in mind that thickest part is connecting to my tree. So from here on out, I'm going to get thinner as I go. I'm going to just glide parallel. And now I'm going to start getting closer and closer and closer until I get right on that main line. Now I'm going to fill in. All right. So now we have our main branches on there. So let's start introducing the smaller branches. Now, if you have a smaller brush, you can grab that. If you have a detail brush and you love that one, grab it. Also, our canvas is not stuck on our easel, so take it down, hold it wherever is comfortable for you to get these tiny little marks. I am going to continue with my long brush, with my flat here. One thing you're going to think about is creating a little bit more fluidity in your paint. So I have a scoop of my black, and I'm going to put it somewhere on my palette. And now I'm going to dip my brush into my water, and then I'm just going to mix it into that little puddle of paint. All right, so I don't want drips, but I just want it to move easier. So I'm going to add a little bit more and mix it in. Yes, I feel as though that's going to be really good. So wiping on both flat sides, compressing those bristles. All right, let's go back up. We have like our main highways going. So now we need to do some more exiting off, creating some more branches. So keeping in mind that our main branch is going to be our thickest, so we have to, I'm suggesting to add a little bit smaller or thinner brushes, marks. So what you're going to be doing is doing less pressure on your brush, less bending of those bristles, barely touching. So get comfy holding your canvas, or having it, somewhere where in an angle that works well for you. If the back of your hand is nice and clean and your background is absolutely dry, I can totally put it on here, but there's been many times that I've made a stamp and you don't want to do that. So just be really aware of your hand and your canvas. All right, so I'm going to create these branches over here on this part of my tree. So I'm going to keep in mind that I want to have a spot for my birds. So I think they're going to be right over here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, do I go up or down? I think I'm going to go down. And I'm going to glide right on that branch again. And I'm just going to turn the ice skate. And I'm going to go down. And I'll lift up and see if I want to do anything else. I think that looks great. So I'm going to continue on doing these branches now, this size branch. I'm going to go over to this one here. I'm going to glide. I have a little bit of canvas showing through, so I'm just going to clean that up. And now I'm going to see where it is asking for other branches, right? I don't really have to necessarily do exactly here. I just look at my branch and say, where does it look like I could have another branch coming off? So I'm going to do one right down here, lifting, barely touching. Really just get familiar and comfortable with the edge of your brush. And I'm going to do one more right over here. I'm going to go right off. So I'm traveling on the main. Now I'm just going to go right off. I need a little bit more paint. And I'm going to go down. And I think I can add another branch to this one here. So I'm just going to travel back on there. I think I can get small enough with this one. There it is. Yep, got it. All right, so back over to this one here. I'm going to add in this branch. So I have my main. Now I'm going to add a little guy like this. Can I do that? I think I can. Yep. All right, so I'm going to go back, clean this up because I can see through it a little bit. And just slowing it down so I don't have a fuzzy edge. All right, getting my paint, wiping on both flat sides again. And now I'm going to add this one here. So just kind of look and see where it's asking for it. And I'm going to go down. Now I'm going to flatten out. This one could even extend past your other. And that feels good. And now I'm going to do one up here. This one here. So I'm going to go up on an angle and then flatten out. It's kind of like reaching for the water. I have to tell you because I was just laughing to myself. So I went for a walk today, and in someone's yard. It was on the main road. So I'm walking, and I see this tree in it, and it has, you know, tree trunk, and then it has like these two branches like this. And I was like, I so want to hug that tree, but I didn't because it was on the main road, and I thought people would look at me, but it just made me laugh. So, yep, I hug trees. Anyway, so here we go. If you didn't think I was weird enough, there you go. All right, so I have this one here, and now I'm going to just go down. All right, it's kind of freeing once you kind of say to yourself, yeah, I'm weird, and then you can be as crazy and weird as you like. It's pretty fun. All right, so I hug trees. All right, cool. So I have that, and now I have some nice branches to do over here on the small one. I am a tree hugger, Joe. I bet you've hugged some trees. All right, here we go. I'm going to just go down, really being aware of my brush when I'm teaching with crayons, when I'm teaching with your colored pencils, anything like that. It's always be aware of your material, be aware of how sharp it is, what side, what edge. So I have a line here. I'm going to give another one. And I think the best way to get to know your material is just to really practice and just get a piece of paper out and just create as many lines as you can. Different thicknesses, different lengths. See by adding a little bit of water what that does. So I am going to continue. I'm going to make another little puddle. So I'm going to scoop up a little bit of that black, bring it on over to its pile. And I'm going to add just a little bit of water again. Try it out. I think you'll really think it's helpful. And I'm just going to wipe off the extra, really compressing my bristles. So going back to my tree, and I am going to add just a few more branches right off of it. Again, always going back to that main branch and then going from it. So think of it as a highway and you're exiting off. It creates a better transition from one branch to the other rather than just having a line coming off. So starting right on that line and then turning off. I might do one right here. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to do one more with this brush here, and then I can use my detail brush or another brush to create some smaller little twigs. And I'm going to just ask myself what this needs, and it will show me where the branches need to be. Awesome. All right, so in my picture, it is spring, and there's just some buds on my tree. So I'm going to create just a few more branches or twigs. You've painted with me before, you know I don't usually or don't paint or draw every single leaf on there, right? Or every single branch. We don't need to. We have our artistic license. We can do whatever we want, right? And of course, we will read it as it has all its branches. We don't need to do each one. It'd be too much. So anyway, I am going to grab a detail brush. Again, get comfy with your brush. Try using a scrap piece of paper and get as many marks as you can with one brush. How thin can you get? How thick can you get? All right, with my detail, I put my paint on. I'm still using that wet paint, the water one. So I have my paint on there, and now I'm just gonna roll it. This is a round detail brush, so it has a nice little point. I'm gonna hold it nice and low, and again, with my my hand, I can put it down if it's dry or use like my pinky as a kickstand. So from here, I'm going to create just some little branches right off of it. So get comfy again, and I'm just going to start on my branch, and I'm just going to do some small lines coming right off. So I'm going to grab my camera and just bring you on over just to show you. If I get a little bumpy for a second, I apologize, but here we go. So I'm just going to show you. Again, I think I even need to roll this even again. Let me grab a different brush. So I'm going to flip you. Hi. And the brush is so important. It's not you, it's the brush. Blame the brush. find a brush that you absolutely love, and it will just be so much easier. All right, so I think let's see. I think I like this one. All right, so here we go. Let's try it again. All right, so I'm going to do a few more. So I start right on there. Oh yeah, see what a difference. And again, your branch will tell you where it needs. So I have this like abrupt stop here. Let's see if I can just kind of bring it out. And it's super helpful with that, adding a little bit of that water to my paint. So I'm just gonna add a few little branches, just kind of show you over here, just a few here and there. Joe. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just add a few more. So I need a little bit more paint and I need to roll my brush, but just to give you an idea, I'm just gonna add a few more twigs off of that where my buds will be. All right, let me flip you back. All right, so we're going to continue adding a few more twigs, and then we're going to go ahead down to our ground and create, I have a kind of like a bush, or maybe you could say it's like a top of a tree. You can kind of play with that, but I'm just going to take another minute or two to create just a few more twigs here and there. Absolutely, the brush is everything. So if you have a set of brushes and you're having a hard time, spend a little bit more money on your brush. I mean, brushes, good brushes. Let's see. I have one. I don't know. This one probably costs $50 and it's worth every penny. So spend the money on your brushes if you love painting. And I promise you, it's going to be life-changing to have a great set of brushes. It's so much harder when you don't have a good brush. All right, I'm not going to add all of my twigs on here. I'm going to go down to my land. So in my painting here, I have like a peninsula of land. It kind of reminds me of Plymouth Beach, how when you're sitting there, you have that land mass that comes right on out. So this could be Plymouth, or it could be anywhere. It could be a lake as well. So I also have it so I could walk across the beach here and continue walking, and then I could continue and it curves and I could walk all the way out, right? If it was straight out, maybe it was an island, or maybe it's really far away, but here it's kind of this little cove, right? It's curved. So to start, I'm going to be using a flat, this one here, and I'm going to be using black paint. And I'm going to just kind of think about how long I want this to be. So I'm going to find the middle and I'm going to bring it over a little bit. I like to kind of do things a little off center. Let me bring you over here. All right, here we go. So right on that horizon line, I'm going to find out how far along I want my land to go out. And I'm going to make just a little mark. So I found the middle and I moved right on over. Now I'm going to drive or ride my ice skate right across. And I'm keeping my line pretty flat. All right. And now I kind of find that creating the highest point on the side and then gradually bringing it down closer, closer, closer until it goes pretty flat makes it look a little bit more realistic than if I had like the same height all the way across. Also, I find that if you take your time and really create an interesting mountain top, rather than just having the same shape or bump going all the way across, it really takes your painting up a notch and it makes it more interesting. So take your time, slow it down. Like you practice on the paper for your tree, practice, do a few different variations of this land on your paper. I am going to go about an inch and a half up at my highest point. And from there, I'm going to start stepping it down. I'm not going to worry about this first line. It does not have to be solid, but I want it to be interesting. So I want it to have different highs, different lows. And now about here, I'm going to start flattening it out and getting closer and closer to that main line. I'm going to fill that in. If you wanted to, you could totally use your white grip or a bigger brush, but this isn't too big, so I feel like this one's perfect. All right, so this is that, like, this land is far away, and because it's flat, so we're going to give it a nice curve so it looks like we can walk out there. All right, so with that is so funny. It could be a really thick branch. I love that. It's the same technique, right? It's not. It's land, but it does look like a big branch, but it's land. All right, so that is too funny. I am going to curve my land. It is land. All right, so I'm going to move in a little bit here, and now I'm going to give it a curve. If anyone knows the band Say Anything, now this reminds me of the cover of one of their albums. Anyway. All right, so if you wanted to, we're going to add some rocks out in the ocean out there later. But for now, I'm going to just let that be. Maybe clean up wherever I feel needs to be something. That's so funny. All right, so I would love to see your areas where you are working. Let me see your workspace. Even if you're sitting at your kitchen table, I want to see it. Have someone take a picture of you, or just send me a picture of your space. People have been sending them to me, and I think they're awesome. And I'd like to put like a collage together of all of our workspaces. All right, so I think that feels good, my large branch. And it totally could, because it's the same, we did it the same way we did our branch. I love that. All right, so I'm going to focus down here, and this is my bottom corner, and I'm going to create just some marks that are going to be my like leaves. So I'll bring you closer just so you can see. Hold on, it might be a little bumpy. All right, I'm going to flip you. All right, so here is my bush. When I step away from it, it looks really, looks like a plant, but up here you can see that they're just brush strokes in like different directions. So I'm using my edge of my brush, creating my marks, right? I can have, it could be with a tint of orange, a tint of green to it, or it could be black as well, silhouetted, however you'd like. So I am going to move on over to my canvas, and I'm going to start adding that little bush. Just gonna put that up. All right, so here we go. I have my brush. I'm gonna bring you closer. There we go. Grab my palette. And now I'm gonna start by using the bottom edge and really kind of using it as like almost a stamp. And I'm gonna create some fullness to my little plant down here. So I'm gonna start with one, and keeping it small, you don't have to have a huge one. And I can add maybe a little bit of white, creating like a really dark gray, just to add some depth into our plant. And I mean, if you wanted to, you could totally like fill it in solid and then go back with a little bit of white or with some green and just kind of work it to create some interest into those leaves, because we're closer to this point here, so we really can see a little bit of detail of those leaves. So just doing brush strokes or just little dashes at different angles, overlapping. And I always can go back with a little bit of black to deepen some of those spots as well. And now I'm going to do another little one right down here. Adding maybe a little bit of that gray. All right, I think that looks great. I'm happy with that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna focus on my, let's get our birds in and then we'll add our buds or our leaves. So my birds are super tiny. Again, this is where like a good detail brush is so helpful. I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna make these birds, which are, there they are, they're so cute. You could do one for every one of your family members or whatever you like, as many as you like. And you can play with the sizes. Of course, you can have like little tiny ones or bigger ones, combo. All right, so here we go. I am going to just kind of draw a line here. That's going to be my branch. And I am going to start adding my bird. So again, really be aware of your brush. Be aware of, I'm just going to roll my brush here. I am going to be aware of my point. I'm going to be aware of my hand. Is the back dry? Can I put my hand down? Just get comfy with it. And I am going to start creating my bird. Now it's super easy. I'm going to do a real big one and then I'll do one here and then I'll do one on my canvas. All right. So my bird body is like an oval or like an egg. All right. My tail, depending on where you're putting your tail will be how your bird is angled. Mine are just like looking out at that beautiful sunrise. So I'm going to have it directly down, but I can show you a few where they're kind of turned. So I'm going to think about proportion. I'm going to think about angle. And now I start it's going to be a triangle, right? And it's going to, the point is going to be inside of the body of the bird. So I'm going to start my triangle. And I'm going to just stop and think about proportion. How big is it? That looks good to me. I'm going to do a curved line like this. I mean, the other ones are going to be so tiny that you're barely going to see that, but I find that that really helps. Next, I'm going to add, do you need a head? I'm going to add just a little head. And I'm going to just add, and I can always get a little bit bigger. All right. Cool. And that's like our bird. And if you wanted to, you could say maybe it's a little longer, or maybe your tail is looking, or your bird's looking over that way. So maybe my tail would be this way, then my head, and then I'd have a beak because it would be looking that way. So you can play, again, practice, and I'll do a tiny one for you, and then I'll do them on my canvas. So I'm going to start. And of course, my birds are like nice and comfy sitting on the branch. So I am touching the branch. Now I'm going to add a tiny little head, or I could have done the tail. I'm going to do the tail now. The point of the triangle is in the body. It just has a natural look to it rather than having it right off the bottom. And now I can give the edge of my tail. Is it called? It is called a tail. Joe, are you there? Is it? So I can really bring that out. So there's a bird, you could have multiple birds, you could have different sizes, and I am going to do them on my canvas now. So now you guys are probably like, she is crazy. It's been a long day. All right, so I'm rolling my brush. I'm going to start adding just a few little birds here, thinking about the size of portion to my branch, to my bird, and I'm going to add that little oval or egg for my body. Maybe your birds are like a deep red or a deep orange, or maybe you're just gonna get really wild and do like a really bright color. So I have one, and he's gonna have a little friend. And a tail. And that looks great to me. Now I'm going to continue using my detail brush, and all I'm going to do is use the tip and just create little marks around my branches. Again, we did not draw every single twig and branch, so I'm not going to just keep all these little buds just on the lines I created. I'm going to say to the viewer, there are more out there, right? So I'm just going to go kind of around wherever I like. And these are maybe little flowers, or they're the buds. You could do, if you wanted, maybe let's try doing, I dipped my brush directly into my pink. I'm going to see what happens. I have like a dark pink. Maybe these are flowers. That's kind of pretty. I could do like a combination of black and this pinky black. And that's going to create kind of those beautiful flowers that are out right now. So I can keep working on that. All right, 2 more steps. Once you fill in all of those, so continue on, or you can join me for my next step, and then you can go back in and finish filling in all of your little buds or flowers. But I am going to jump and add a sun that is just above the water. It just came up. So I am going to give my brush a quick whitewash wipe, and then I'm going to add that. I also am going to add just a few little rocks, which are just little marks by my land. I love looking, climbing on the rocks when we go to the beach. So I'm going to add a few of those in there. All right, so my brush is clean, and I'm going to focus right towards the bottom. Think about where you want that placement of your sun. You could have like that half, maybe it hasn't come all the way up, but I'm going to do kind of close to a full circle right around here. So I have pure yellow. Now we had yellow and white down here, so this will totally show up. I don't want it like in my face. I just want it nice and subtle because we have such a beautiful palette. So I'm just working it. I start from the inside and kind of just work it out. And step back, because sometimes when you're so close to it, it will look like a oval. So I think that actually looks great, just like that. And I'm going to do a little bit of yellow in my water as reflection. And I'm going to keep this very, very flat. So I'm going to keep it flat. Oh, we have another step. We have some more waves. I was so happy with my water, I didn't even think about it. But I'm just adding the tips of my bristles, barely putting any pressure, just allowing that texture of my canvas to grab that paint. And as I go, it's just kind of fusing out, so getting a little bit longer. Just grabbing on those ripples, the highlight. So I started little and I went back and forth a little wider as I went down. All right, so if you want to add a little bit more of a ripple coming in, I'm going to be using that Ocean Breeze one more time. If your brush needs a quick wipe, go for it. And I'm going to dip into my Ocean Breeze, and I'm going to start just adding a few lines that are going to, so I'm going to use the very tips of my bristles, and I'm just going to kind of create these nice lines that have highs and lows, and that's going to be the darkest as close to us. And I can always put a little bit of white on my brush as well, and I can focus on the bottom edge of that ocean breeze and just start letting it blend into what's below. Just softening it. So I'm just blending in that bottom edge. All right, I'm going to do ocean breeze and white. I'm going to mix it on my palette. And I'm just going to add a few more. As it goes out, I'm going to see less, and they're going to be lighter. Different lengths, staggered. Maybe as it goes further away, they're smaller. I'm going to roll my brush. Maybe there's one here. Barely touching your canvas for way out. One here. And I think there already is one kind of here naturally, so I'm just going to kind of darken it. All right, I like that. All right, so it's just a few little rocks and we are done. So I have my black. I'm going to use the tips of my bristles, and all I'm going to do is just create like little marks. I'll show you on my hand. I'm just going to create like little groupings, and they're going to be rocks. So think about how the water would be surrounding the bottom. So it would be flat bottom and a little bit of rounded top, or you can really just do little dashes and little groupings. I have just a few out here. Ooh, where am I? Here. You could do them like out on your tip. You can do them bigger down here. You can kind of play with that. So I'm going to add just a few little rocks in the water. Play with the size. Different sizes, clustered together, further apart. And yeah, I would just continue adding. I really actually like that pink with a little bit of black combo in my tree as like the flowers. It's just a little less harsh, and maybe I would put a few darks in there as well, or pure black. But just continue on there, step away from your canvas every once in a while, and that will just give you a clearer look. Maybe you have a few birds flying out, whatever makes you happy. But just thank you so much for painting with me. Once you're done, just send me a message, or you can comment in below with a picture of your artwork. Thank you so much for all your tips. It's been so helpful. And I just really, truly appreciate that. So thank you so much. If you have any ideas, I did have someone ask about a lighthouse, so I am working on that. Also, tonight is the last super moon of the year. It is the flower moon, so take a look if it is clear out. And yeah, thank you so much again. I will be painting tomorrow a kid's llama painting, which is really fun. Crayons, markers, or paint is perfect. And I will be back painting with you soon. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful night. Post a picture below for me. I can't wait to see your artwork, and send a picture of your workspace. All right, friends, see you later. Bye.